Hey everyone, this is Ask the Pastor. This is where the internet asks me questions and tries to stump me, and I do my best to not get stumped if I can avoid it. Here's our question today. How do you know your faith isn't just what you were conditioned by your upbringing to believe? This is an interesting question, and I want to be careful because I think there are kind of two ways to understand this question, and I want to not translate it too far into a question I've heard before and accidentally make a straw man. One way to interpret this question would be essentially, how do I know I haven't been brainwashed, right? How do I know that the only reason I think that Christianity is true and is logical and is reasonable is because early in my formative time I was taught to think that way and to think that those kind of things are reasonable and logical, and that's the only reason I do it. And so that's actually a pretty difficult question to answer. Truthfully speaking, I think if I was thoroughly brainwashed enough, how would I know it, right? I mean, the philosopher René Descartes actually asks that question. Suppose there's an evil madman who's controlling your thoughts or controlling all your senses, how would you know? Well, you wouldn't. But man, they would have had to do a real bang-up job of it, because I don't believe everything else my parents taught me, right? I don't believe a lot of what I received from them. I've had an adolescence where I kind of parsed and tried to eat the meat and spit out the bones, and then accidentally ate some bones and puked some of that up and then moved on. Like that's what growing up is. And Christianity is one thing I've held on to. In fact, the Christianity that I espouse, the Christianity that I talk about here in this video, the kind of flavor of Bible that I am, is very different than the Christianity of my parents. But truthfully speaking, if I were deceived into thinking that I weren't deceived, then I would be deceived. And I think my only response to that is that, well, there's nothing I can really do about that, right? Like, if I'm crazy, then I'm just crazy, and I can only work with the framework that I'm in. There's another question that kind of undergirds that one, which is the question of, how do I deal with the fact that if I were born in a different place, that if I had different parents, that if I were raised to affirm a different faith tradition, there is a good probability that I would believe something else. And first of all, that is true. I mean, we can see that, in the data. People who are raised in areas that are predominantly Muslim are predominantly Muslim. I mean, that's obvious. But then that's true about all kinds of beliefs. People who are raised in areas where women are not valued and treated with equal dignity to men tend to believe that women do not deserve equal value and dignity to men. And people who were raised in different time periods, like say a time period before germ theory, there would be almost no one who would come to the belief independently that there were little animals too small to see that are responsible for making us sick. The only reason that we are lucky enough to believe that is because we were all born in a place and a time that does believe that. But we don't care. We don't reject germ theory on the basis that the only reason we believe it is because we're a part of a community that believes it. Quite the opposite. We affirm it, and we thank our lucky stars, or our God, that we were born in a place and time where we get to believe it because it's true. And the reason for believing any idea, including a Christian idea, Christianity is not a special, different kind of true. It's true. It's the same kind of true. And the only reason for believing it is because it's true. because we think it's what the evidence affirms, what it upholds, what seems right. And we want to believe as many right things as we can and disbelieve as many wrong things as we can. And so where we're born and what that has to do with the likelihood that we would become right really doesn't have any say in the matter. I hope that answers your question. If it does, I want to encourage you to share this video. If I went too fast, and I do feel like I kind of spoke really fast in this video, but it is YouTube after all, ask me some clarifying questions. I'd love to fill in some blanks and talk more about it. And finally, if you've got your own question to ask the pastor, questions are free and answers are freer. You can put it right down in these comments and watch some of these other videos of me answering other people's questions. Thank you. Have a blessed day.